Yo, what's good, my fellow deadheads? Your overlord has returned. Today we do have yet another JJK Phantom Parade video. I actually just realized that I never went back and went over Satoru Gojo's actual kit for what he does, right? I kind of did my speculations on what he does whenever I was talking about him and Shoko in the live stream, but now we do know exactly what Gojo does, so I'm just gonna break that down here for you guys real quick so we know exactly what we are saving for global players. And if JP players are looking at this video and you still have not, gotten Gojo yet, and you're wondering, should you even continue to put more cubes into this? I'm gonna read his kit out for you and you can decide if that sounds like something you want to play with. Now, I will go ahead and give y'all a little spoiler on my opinion of Gojo. I do think that he is really cracked, and I think that he is probably one of the most interesting DPSs the game is seeing as of right now. Yes, for sure. And one thing that makes him a very compelling choice is that we are very skimpy for green DPSs. For green DPSs right now on the global side of the game, we literally have Green Megumi. We're maybe waiting on Yuji to get his SP buff. Everybody has Hollow Purple Gojo, but everybody's probably getting tired of Hollow Purple Gojo because of his turn restriction, and also because Domain Expansion Gojo is just a much better choice to put into your team. And this character doesn't take away Domain Expansion Gojo's relevance either, because they serve two different purposes. Whereas this Gojo is like a buzzsaw and just has really crazy damage, the Domain Expansion Gojo actually does have pretty good damage, which people for some reason tend to forget about. They just talk about his Domain Expansion, which yes, it is incredible for sure, but his damage is nothing to scoff at. That Gojo can still do pretty good damage. That's why a lot of people say getting Domain Expansion Gojo skill 1 is useless, right? But I find use in that because after you use Gojo's domain, he still can only use his skill 1. Like, that's the only skill he can use. So he can do some pretty good damage if you are willing to, level up that skill. But I digress. We're going to look over Gojo's kit. I am going to let you guys decide right now if you want to summon for him, work on him, save for him. But y'all already know that there will be a multitude of videos talking about whether you should summon for that character or not. We need to see things like how is his longevity going to last. In the longevity doesn't last. When you last a long time, you have longevity. We're going to see how long this man's reign goes on for in the JP version of the game, and see if he is like an absolute, like, oh my god, I need the 5-star, because he is a DPS. A lot of people said that DE Gojo was not worth the 5-star just because he doesn't need it, but this Gojo doesn't need it either. He's probably going to be high damage, but A5 wouldn't hurt for your DPSs ever. So, before I get into anything in this video, guys, go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know what you want to see, what you don't want to see, or I guess I meant to say comment and let me know what you do and don't want to see, or what you do and don't like about these videos. I am over 800 subscribers, and that actually makes me feel so overjoyed, just remembering where I started a very long time ago and how long I've been at this YouTube game, man. But I am trying to lock in more and more day by day and just get more quality content out to you guys. So I do really appreciate everybody who has been here for the ride, and I appreciate every new person who's going to join along the way, and I appreciate everybody who's watching right now. But let's go ahead and get into the video. So guys, as you know, I like to start off with the passives first, because typically the passive kind of gives you an idea of what the rest of the kit is, how the rest of the kit is actually working. It may not sound exactly how it sounds right here on the screen here, but I did kind of give myself some bullet points over here, a little simpler and not jumbled around as much, so I can make easier sense of this. So we have a typical technique that Gojos have, Limitless Technique. He gets 3 turns of attack immunity at the start of the battle, and also whenever the Honored One state is activated at the start of his turn, he gives himself attack immunity for 1 turn if his health is 50% or below. So that means that at the start of the battle, Gojo does have Limitless Technique and he cannot be hit for 3 turns. And then once you transform and go into the Honored One state, you can again proc attack immunity if your health gets below 50%. That can happen twice in battle. So if Gojo goes below 50% and stays below 50%, I guess maybe no, because the attack immunity is for 1 turn. So it seems that rather Gojo would go below the 50%, he would get the attack immunity, and then maybe if he gets healed back up, because they did just release him with Shoko, if he gets healed back up, then boom, he can get back down to 50% again and then get attack immunity again. So very good that it's not just a 2-turn thing, but it can happen on 2 different occasions, just in case. Then his curse technique reversal red counter. When receiving a single target melee attack, he deals 520% ranged jujutsu damage to the countered enemy with a large critical hit chance. Then, this also increases his core of cursed energy count by 1, which is like this new little buff that he got for himself. But yes, gives himself 1 core of cursed energy count whenever he does a counter. And he also increases his own jujutsu stat by 30% for 3 turns every time he counters. And he can counter whenever an enemy hits him with a single target melee attack. Not a ranged attack, has to be a melee attack. Then lose counter status whenever the Honored One mode is deactivated. So if Gojo is not in his Honored One mode, which which if anybody has been looking at anything on JJK lately, Gojo, builds up, transforms, goes to Honored One mode. Whenever he is not in the Honored One status, he does not have a counter. Then the last thing that we need to look at here, and this one is the bulk of it here. This one's crazy. Core of Cursed Energy. For each core of cursed energy applied to yourself at the start of your turn, it increases your own jujutsu stat by 35% for 1 turn. Let's unpack that. I believe that means just because you have a core of cursed energy on yourself, Gojo is naturally getting 35%, just extra jujutsu damage. All right, cool. Let's continue. Each count increases your jujutsu stat by 25% up to 210% with 8 stacks. So 25% times 8% or 25% times 8 is 200%. So I guess it's saying that you can't max out at 235, which also kind of makes it so that you're not always trying to shoot all the way up to 8 counts, right? It would be a lot funner if you could just play with the character naturally and just work your way up through the counts and not have to focus getting up to 8 counts for the extra damage. Plus Gojo's damage is it's a Gojo, right? His damage is going to be good regardless. Do you really need the up to 210%? It's a nice little incentive to try and get there, but I don't think you need to get there. But yes, I believe that the 35% is just for Gojo having a core of cursed energy on himself, and then the 8 counts is the 25% of cursed energy, jujutsu stat increase, right? So these 8 counts are separate from they add together collectively, but this is procced in a different way than the rest of them is what I'm saying. These are specifically from him having a core of cursed energy, because this buff right here stacks. But this one right here is just from him having them in general, if that makes sense. And if that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. This right here is from him having a core of cursed energy in general. This is from each instance of core of cursed energy. There we go. That probably was a better explanation. Then, at the start of the battle, grants himself a revive for 1 time if Honored One status is not activated, which Honored One status is never activated at the start of the fight. So if you get killed before you can get into the Honored One status, then you will get a free revive. GG. Then, if HP is 25% or below while in Honored One status, when you revive, it gives you 3 cursed energy cores. Then, if your health is 25% or below while you're in the Honored One status, you have a 20% chance to evade incoming attacks. And the evade chance goes away if your health goes back above 25% or if you lose the Honored One status. So, Gojo is looking like an absolute menace just off of this part of his kit alone. It's very unique. I'd say a lot more expansive than a lot of other characters we've seen. The only other character I can think of who's probably as expansive as this is probably like, DE Gojo or Sukuna probably. Sukuna, honestly. Just because he has his extra healing in his kit. He has the immunity to poison and curses. Then he also cannot be killed instantly from from soul damage, right? So a very expansive kit, kind of similar to Sukuna. Now, let's look over his skills. We are just going to take a look at them at level 10 because I'm sorry guys, I'm thinking about this personally. Whenever I get a character, I try to get their skills to level 10. I don't like to leave skills sitting off the table with extra damage and all that. Cool. Skill 1, Strike and Converge. Converge and Strike, Deals melee combined damage equal to 210% taijutsu and 170% jujutsu to the selected enemy for 2 hits. Lowers the selected enemy's damage by 20% for 3 turns. We're going to go over the Honored One stuff separately. But yes, 210% taijutsu, 170% jujutsu, so a collective 380% damage, and lowers the selected enemy's damage by 20%. Excellent. That is good because that gives your team a little more survivability. This is a free skill that you can use all the time, and it's lowering the damage that the enemy is doing, and you can stack it up to 3 times, so that's excellent. Then, skill 2, Reverse Curse Technique Red. deals 650% range Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, and increases own core of curse energy count by 1. So you can guarantee to increase your core of curse energy count by 1 every turn using this skill. This skill only costs 1 curse energy, and Gojo is not like other characters where even if they are a heavenly restriction character and they don't have a curse energy cost on their skills, some of their skills just have a cooldown. Gojo's not like that. Gojo can do whatever the fuck he wants. Okay, skill number 3 is going to be a buff. It is called Awakening. Increases own ultimate gauge charge rate by 25%. So literally, this Gojo is just an ult spammer because everything is pretty much revolving around his ultimate. Increases own ultimate gauge charge rate by 25% for 3 turns. Excellent. And it only costs 1 energy. Fucking ridiculous. Then grants attack immunity to self for 3 turns. Awakening. And 3 turns. Or yes, it can't be stacked. The attack immunity can't be stacked. So 25% ult charge rate and 3 turns of attack immunity is ridiculous. Then his ultimate, Hollow Purple. This is only usable in the Honored One mode. So you have to transform and go Honored One first, and as I go through the kit, you'll see how it works, and we'll explain how you do that. But once you get him into Honored One mode, he deals 1800% Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, increases his own ultimate gauge charge rate by 16.7%. So you can see that even when he's using his ultimate, he's still boosting his ultimate charge rate just to get back into the awakened state again. Then for 4 turns, the remaining turns of Honored One mode, the greater the effect, up to 50% with 5 turns remaining. So pretty much, if you get into Honored One mode and you can rush your ultimate as fast as possible, and you have 5 turns remaining on Honored One mode, you can deal an additional 50% extra damage on top of what you're doing already with your ultimate. And whenever you do your ultimate, it removes Honored One mode and all of your core of curse energy, and then it removes your counter status as well, and you have to start stacking it back up again. Also interesting, what I noticed here is, typically with characters, their combo ultimate effect is just these first 2 lines right here, them doing extra damage and them giving a buff to themselves and the ally, right? So what Gojo's is deals 128% Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, and then increases own and the allies critical hit damage by 30%. But then Gojo also fills the other 2 allies who are not affected by this, their ultimate gauge by 110. So he is absolutely ridiculous, actually. Now let's go back over his skills in Honor One mode. If you are in Honor One mode, which to get to Honor One mode, you get your ultimate gauge filled all the way up, and then since you can't use your ultimate gauge at max, I believe, is 1168 or 12, it's 1363, right? So once your ultimate gauge is at 1168, you use this buff skill, and instead of the buff skill doing this regular buff right here, it's gonna change you into the Honor One mode once you have this much. And the Honor One mode lasts for 8 freaking turns. So you have 2-3 turns to stack up your ultimate and get that extra 50% damage if you want on top. Then whenever you use this, it increases your own ultimate gauge charge rate by 25%, so that stays the same for 3 turns. But changes into Realm of the Strongest during Honor One mode. So whenever you're in Realm of the Strongest, it increases your damage dealt by 60% for 3 turns, so you can stack that, very good. Grants a counter status to yourself for 3 turns, 1 time, so you can't stack it. That's why it says 1 time. You can't stack the counter. You can't do 2 counters in 1 turn because you had 2 counters stacked. You can only do 1 counter. Then increases on ultimate gauge charge rate by 25%. So literally, you still get the ult gauge charge rate. You're just getting extra damage on top and the counter status, which is absolutely ridiculous. And this still only costs 1 curse energy. Insane. Then this skill right here in Honor One mode deals 750% range Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy. So still a single target, and this one's still a single target, but it goes up 100% damage. Has a large critical hit chance, which is good because this didn't have a crit hit chance on it at all. Then, or I guess it always does have a critical hit chance, but there's a better one here built into the skill itself. Then increases own core of cursed energy count by 1, so you still get your core of cursed energy count. This just does a little bit more damage and has a better crit chance to it. So literally the skill is just improved by a little bit, but that little bit takes you a very long way. Then the skill 1, when in Honor One mode, deals 420% Jujutsu damage straight up to all enemies. So instead of doing 380% to one enemy, you are doing 420%, 40% extra damage to all enemies, and lowers the selected enemy's damage by 30%. So not only can you hit everybody for even more damage than you were hitting just one person for, but you can still select a specific enemy and make them weaker if you need to. So this Gojo is just absolutely disgusting. And this turns from Convergent Strike to Curse Technique Lapse Blue. This turns from Curse Technique Reversal Red to the same thing. It's the same thing. You're just in Honor One mode at that point. And then this one turns from awakening to the realm of the strongest. And I just wanted to specifically go over the names for these skills because they all do have different names and different effects. Then also another thing that I will say is Gojo requires, I usually say this at the start of the video, but Gojo requires necklaces and plates. Those are his items for Great Awakening. So guys, once we start getting closer to the release of all this stuff, which I don't think is going to be at the 1st anniversary, which I'll make a separate video on that probably tomorrow. But once we get closer to these characters, if you want to start farming the right materials for Gojo, you're going to start farming necklaces and plates. 100% remember that. As Gojo's release comes a little bit closer, you guys know I'll do another video breaking them down again, and I'll leave a link to his Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade wiki page, and I'll also leave a link to his Game With page as well. But the last thing that I want to do for this video is go over his recollection vid that came out with him as well, because it's pretty solid, I believe. And I say I believe because I literally just have not looked over it yet, but I know it's for mono green. So let's see. At no dupes. So it's only something you can use on your ultimate. When your ultimate is used, increase its own Jujutsu stat by 40%, one turn, one time. If the equipped unit is green though, increases the Jujutsu stat by an additional 40%. Available after 6 turns have passed. So literally this one has a 7-turn cooldown, which non-standard has like a 6-turn cooldown. 6-turn I say is the sweet spot, but this one is okay. This one is fine. And I do like the fact that this one is for any color unit, and then even better for green units, instead of it completely being for just green units. But if you get it to level 1 or limit break 1, at the start of battle, fills on ultimate gauge by 150, so that's excellent. Reactivate its effect for every 5 turns passed. So what the hell? Okay, this one refills your ultimate gauge by 150 at the start of the battle, and every 5 turns that pass, just gives you another 150 boost. That's actually insane. That's actually super cracked for Gojo. Then also you can see right here, when ultimate skill is activated, increases on Jujutsu stat by 45% instead of just 40. And then additional for green by 50% instead of just 40. So this is one of the first times I think we've seen that a page gets a boost right here and right here from the 3rd star. So this page is crazy because that's 95% extra Jujutsu stat for Gojo with this page on if you have it to limit break 3. Not even maxed out, just limit break 3. And you know, the ultimate refill gauge is gonna be, yo, this Gojo is gonna be an ult machine. But yo, that's gonna be it for Gojo's breakdown. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Me personally, chat, keep it a buck with you, keep it a bean with you. Yeah, I gotta get this Gojo. A5. I need this Gojo A5, and low-key, I need his page A5 too now that I've read this as well. Like this Gojo, I feel like maybe this Gojo is not probably the most revolutionary character that drops in the game ever. That's probably still domain expansion Gojo right now. He changed the landscape of the game really crazy. But I will say that so far, for me looking at the breakdown on paper and seeing people use him already, this Gojo looks like he may be the funnest unit to use in this game because he's extremely powerful. And he's kind of quirky too, the way his shit works. But if you guys did enjoy the video, you can go down below. You can smack the like. You can hit the subscribe. You can hit the notification bell. I will finish my yak fest for y'all and let y'all get back to whatever y'all was doing for real. Be on the lookout for some more videos tomorrow. We have plenty of stuff to talk about between, you know, Global and JP. So we'll see what the Dead Man has cooked up for y'all tomorrow. But remember, chat, the Dead Man does love you. And to always better yourself, I guess, or be greedier. Yeah, that feels right. Be greedier. Peace out.